Aquaculture, showcasing India as a hub for aquaculture and fisheries investment. This session focuses on the role of technologies and innovation in enhancing production and productivity. Fisheries offers immense opportunity and potential to enhance production through optimal utilization of technology infusion and capacity building. This session will deliberate on the latest technologies, new innovations, and on-ground execution at the state level and find ways to address the barriers to adoption to scale. To moderate this session, we have with us Mr. Sandeep Ahir Rao, Vice President, Growell Feeds Private Limited. We also have a very eminent lineup of speakers. We will be hearing from Dr. Mohan Chadag, Principal Scientist, Sustainable Aquaculture, World Fish, Mr. Atul Barman, Country Head India, Aker Biomarine Norway, General PJS Panu, Strategic Advisor, Skylo Technologies USA, Mr. K. Rajesh, Chief Quality and Sustainable Officer, Delicious, Mr. Neelkant Mishra, CEO and Founder, Center for Aquatic Livelihood, Jal Jeevika, Dr. Farshad, CEO and Founder, Blue Aqua International Group, Singapore. With this, may I now request Mr. Ahir Rao to please take the session forward.
Yeah, thanks, Rituja. A very warm welcome and good afternoon to all the esteemed panelists, as well as members of the audience and the organizers. So, first of all, thanks for inviting me as a moderator for this wonderful program. I think Dr. Mohan is not available, he's down with fever. So, is Dr. Arun there? Dr. Arun Padiyar? Anyway, so I think we'll straight away start with the first speaker, our first panelist. I'll give a brief introduction, and my request to each one of you to kindly stick to the time limit of allocated time of 5 minutes per panelist. So our first distinguished speaker is Mr. Atul Barman. He's having over 32 years of diverse experience in healthcare in both B2C and B2B segments, on the national and international front, the various pharma and biotech majors. And he's presently working with Aker Biomarine, Antarctic AS from Norway. It's a world famous company. He's there with this group for last 10 years. And he's currently the director and general manager of Aker Biomarine India, based out of Mumbai, and responsible for both animal health and human health and nutrition business in the Indian subcontinent. So he's a graduate from Delhi University with a postgraduate diploma in business management from All India Management Association, and also a certified nutritionist from Gold Coast University, Australia, and currently pursuing certification in global management from INSEAD, France. So over to Mr. Atul.
Thank you very much, Sandeep, for your kind introduction, and good afternoon to everybody. And it's a pleasure and an honor to participate in this important conference on the Indian aquaculture. Thankful to the organizers, thankful to CII for considering me to be a panelist and a short speaker. And like I said, it's really a pleasure for me to be here today. My talk is around novel ingredient. I would share my presentation now. I would try to do my very best as per the timeline provided, but yeah, we'll try and see as we go along. As we all know, aquaculture is growing worldwide with around 4-5-6% of growth CAGR. However, we know that the need for the same for the food security in future is quite high. So we require to unleash the entire potential of aquaculture going ahead in the decades. And to do that, advancements in the field of and innovation in the field of aquaculture feed is possibly a key in developing factor, basically. Innovation in feed is a trigger to unleash growth in aquaculture, ensuring capacity of new material with low environmental footprints, identifying the most sustainable, low impact composition will require a palette of different solutions. And we know that. The composition of aquafeed is also a single most important input contributing to carbon footprints of aquaculture products. Going forward, as we see globally as a trend, novel ingredients, which are actually unconventional feedstuff of plant or animal origin. Worldwide, we see there is a increased R&D focus on such ingredients with an aim to ascertain new protein, raw materials, alternate source for essential fatty acids for aquafeeds. Recently, we see that it is recommended internationally that novel ingredients should constitute to at least about 6% of the feed. In this context, I like to introduce Antarctic krill. Antarctic krill is a small crustacean. They are very shrimp-like in appearance, big black eyes, reddish, and semi-transparent shell. They live in swarms, and they are considered an important trophic level connection because they sit down below in the food chain, absolutely. And then the important part here, and very interesting part here, which some of you would like to know, that krill is the largest single species biomass on Mother Earth. It's twice the biomass of all the humans put together. It's a very unique ingredient because the krill not just contains one nutrient, krill contains combination of multiple nutrients which are responsible for growth and health of the aquatic animals, basically. So as you see here, it just not only contains the marine proteins, omega-3 phospholipids, choline, astaxanthin, cholesterol, fat-soluble vitamins, but more importantly, and very, very importantly, it also contains multiple feed attractants like nucleotides, TMAO, and the water-soluble amino acids. And this is very, very important because the feed attractant increases feed consumption and thereby the growth. They also reduce waste and leakages of nutrients by shortening the time between feeding being distributed and shrimp eating it. So there is least wastage that occurs if the attractants are strong, and that's what krill offers. Krill fishery is highly sustainable, and that is a very important part of krill and krill fishery as far as its importance to the aquaculture is concerned. Despite being a largest biomass on the Mother Earth, like I mentioned, twice the human size of biomass, there is only a fraction of it that goes around the harvest. Krill harvesting is developed on a quota and is highly regulated by a global body called CAMLR, which makes sure that the harvesting quota and the location of the harvesting is absolutely met with. Interestingly, although the quota is just 1% of the entire available biomass, the actual catch is only 0.5%. I'm sure you will struggle to find any other fishery in the world that takes out such a small percentage of available biomass. And that's a very interesting part of fishery. Further to our commitment on sustainability, Aker BioMarine has developed a patented eco-harvesting technology. And this technology is very unique for harvesting because of this technology called eco-harvesting, we are able to catch only krill from the Antarctic Ocean and not the bycatches. So it singles out the bycatches and doesn't catch any other fishes, seals, or any other aquatic animals except for krill that we require for the production. The other interesting factor is that there is an immediate production of the krill from krill whole to krill meal at the plant itself. In fact, our harvesting vessels actually are floating plants. Hence, we process krill immediately from the whole krill to dried meal, like I said, on board the vessels itself. And that ensures super freshness of the ingredient, which is required for the high palatability and attractability for the fish and the shrimp growth. The Antarctic fishery, like I said before, is one of the world's most sustainable fisheries. We have fully transparent operations leading to highest standard certifications like Marine Stewardship Council certification, which is famously known as MSC certification, and an A rating for like 5 years consecutively now, 6 years maybe. 2015 we started this. A rating of
Mr.
sustainability in
Atul,
fisheries.
sorry to interrupt you. Already 6 minutes over. So kindly try to wind
Sure,
up in next minute or so.
sure.
Thank you.
I'll try to do that. Thank you.
Sorry.
The interesting part, one more very interesting aspect that I'd like to just quickly bring around here is that we find no plastics in krill. In a recent study realized, it shows zero plastic content in krill, while as you see here, there is different plastic content in different fish meals found around the world. And that's maybe because of the fact that the krill harvesting is done in the pristine, clear, pure waters of Antarctica, unlike the fisheries of other fishes. I would try to skip this one, which is more in detail around our CO2 emission, wherein our commitment is to reduce it by half to 2030 and totally zero, net zero carbon emission by 2050. We have a lot of science behind it and around the growth, quality, and health. And this is the most important part. So I end here, like my colleague would like me to do. That krill meal is an attractive shrimp feed ingredient that maximizes feed intake in a sustainable manner and can be very beneficial to Indian shrimp farmers to improve earning potential by so many other reasons which are mentioned here. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Atul. And it was a very nice presentation, very informative. And of course, it's a very important ingredient for the feed mill industry worldwide, needless to say.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll move to our next presenter of the day. That is a distinguished speaker, General P.J.S. Pannu, retired. He will be speaking on use of innovative technologies to support the fisheries and aquaculture sector. So General Pannu is the strategic advisor to Skylo Technologies USA. And so let me introduce in brief. Lieutenant General P.J.S. Pannu, PVSM, AVSM, VSM, retired, is a former Deputy Chief Indian Integrated Defense Staff Operations, responsible for coordinating military operations of the three services. He was responsible for raising the Defense, Space and Cyber agencies as well as the Special Forces Division. He conducted the first ever space exercise in India, nicknamed IND-SpaceX, in 2019. He commanded 14 corps in Ladakh in 2016-17, the highest battlefield, including Siachen Glacier, facing two simultaneous active division on the LAC, that is the McMahon Line in Arunachal Pradesh in 2013-14. He commanded the Uri Brigade in 2008 to 2010 and also an infantry battalion at Uri in 1999-2000. So he's a regular contributor to publishing articles and a regular speaker in the media channels. He has recently published the USI National Security Paper 2021 on role of niche and disruptive technologies in India's deterrence and war fighting capabilities. So I'm very happy that we have such a distinguished personality amongst us as a speaker, and he is part of the humble aquaculture field, which offers vast potential. So over to General Saab, please.
Thank you very much, Sandeep, for your introduction. Knowing my background, you would have known that I'm a combat soldier, but also I belong to the Maratha Light Infantry, and most of my troops actually come from coastal areas of Maharashtra, Goa, and other coastal states. Also, you would have realized that when I was deputy chief, I raised the space and the cyber divisions, wherein technology actually becomes a forte and IoT becomes a prime driver of the future warfight.
There's an interruption.
Janal Panu, we are not able to hear you clearly.
Million square
Maybe if you
kilometers.
switch off your video and then try.
We also have rivers, canals, which is about 5.
To be some network issue.
We're not able to
One
hear you
second.
properly. You can switch off your video, so that audio should be fine then.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's clear.
Can you hear me now? I have actually switched the other network. I think one
Now
network
it's
was
fine.
poor. How do you?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Oh, okay.
We can hear you clearly
Okay. So
now.
what I was talking about is that India is a seafaring nation. We have about 2 million square kilometers of EEZ and 0.50 million square kilometers of continental shelf, about 1.95 lakh kilometers of rivers and canals. And we have about 16 million fishermen whose livelihood depends on the blue economy. Having said that, one thing that we don't realize is that seas have to be seen not only as contributors to the marine economy, but also as security of the nation, because they're all frontiers of our country. And the coastal front is extremely important from security point of view. As a result, when you find that the number of fishermen and boats that go into the national waters and the EEZ, they go without communication. They have no means, in case they get into trouble, they have no means to communicate back. The Skylo technology provides for communication to the fishermen, to all the boats, whether they go into the extreme ends of the EEZ or even beyond that, they can go into high seas, depending on the policies and the treaties. Our fishermen can go into deep sea operations and yet remain connected with the families at home. But what is more important is that their entire connectivity would also give them a machine-to-machine connect with whatever is happening. I was just hearing Atul speak about boats as processing plants. Now, if you have a boat as a processing plant, and he gave a very good example, then the entire IoT component through sensors can be linked up, and somebody sitting onshore in a data center or in a command and control center will be able to make out exactly what quality of catch, quantity of catch, and the timing of catch, and also location of catch and how it is being processed while not being on the ship. And as the fishermen who utilize this technology of communication can also, through their connect with through the digital platforms, can sell the fish in advance, because they know the quantity that and the type of fish that they have actually acquired on the boat. More so, the markets can be also be set afloat into the ocean in a manner that the fishermen don't really have to come back after the day's catch. They can go much deeper. Most of them actually stay for about weeks on into the ocean. But if the markets are put on floats and sent out into the national waters, the fishermen can actually sell their product right to the floating markets, from where the refrigerated containers can be brought by the government or through the agencies which are exclusively working on purchasing from the floating markets. And the cold storage supply chain can start right from the ocean itself. So one is that they are completely connected with two-way IoT technology. Secondly, if in case of any disaster, the other boats which are also connected, or a group of boats, or a company, or a fisherman community can help out each other, not only in communication, but also they can share the catch and they can come back. Another issue is that it reduces the time and it reduces the complexity between the bait and plate, because the moment the fish has been purchased while afloat, by the time you come, you already know who's the buyer. You don't have to really look for buyers on the market or the coast end. The buyer is already waiting. They know exactly what your catch is. The money has already possibly been paid or ready to be paid, and your stuff is purchased, and now, if not on the floating market, it can actually come onto the coastal market and put in a refrigerated container and carry on right to the hinterland, wherever the Class A cities or wherever the hotel industry wants them. Another factor is that in the IoT and communication that the Scalo provides is also for the supply chain, for the logistics, that even the refrigerated containers, the temperature can be monitored. That it is not that you've loaded a truck from there and it is coming to Delhi, or in any coastal area, it can take about 3 to 4 days to reach hinterland. The owner would understand exactly what is the temperature which is being maintained for the fish, and it can come into the plate in healthy condition, and it can be monitored. Yeah, Sandeep?
Yeah,
Is
sorry,
there a
sorry,
problem?
General. You already 7 minutes, sir. So kindly
Okay.
try to finish in next 1 or 1.5 minute, please.
All right. All right. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. The tracking is extremely important, and the government of India is also looking at the monitoring and control system. And monitoring and control system can give data centers, and data centers can actually give out the analysis of where the catch is, what are the seasonal catches, and one can improve the strategy of going into the high seas and catching the fish, and the high calorific value can be easily obtained. The Skylo technology now has undergone a change. They are actually doing direct to device now. The initial Skylo hub, which was being fitted on the boats, is being removed, and it is going to come directly on the mobile of a fisherman. So all that smart systems can work for all the marine economy, for the fishermen directly, with direct to device satellite connectivity with the Skylo system. And I'm sure in the next few months you will see Skylo operating in the high seas, helping out the fishermen and improving the blue economy of the nation. Thank you, Sandeep. Sorry for taking extra time.
Thank you, sir. So that was a very enlightening presentation from General Pannu. So we'll take questions at the end of the session, if anything. Thank you, General. Now we'll move to the next speaker, that is Mr. K. Rajesh. He is the Chief Quality and Sustainable Officer of Licious from Bangalore. So he's going to be talking on the use of latest technology in processing, packaging, and last mile delivery, etc. Now, as an aquaculturist, I am very thankful to Licious, and there are a number of other companies who have come up similar to Licious. They are doing a great service to the aquaculture sector by improving the marketability of the seafood, and especially the seafood which has been cultured in the ponds, whether it is salt water, whether it is fresh water. And so the domestic market volumes are growing by leaps and bounds, thanks to companies like Licious, and God bless them. So I'll just briefly introduce Mr. Rajesh. So Mr. Rajesh is currently the Chief Quality and Sustainability Officer at Licious, a fast-growing, recently turned unicorn startup, having previously served as its Senior VP of Quality, Food Safety, and R&D. He has over 20 years of industrial experience in the food industry across manufacturing, supply chain, strategic initiatives, sustainability, and ESG domains. He is an expert in national and international food safety, quality, and sustainability regulations. He has earlier worked as Regional Head Quality Enhancement South India for Jubilant Foodworks. He is a postgraduate in Fisheries and Aquaculture and lead auditor for various ISO standards. Now, as you know, see this role played by Licious, I cannot overemphasize. It's a very, very crucial role. All these years, last 30, 40 years, the Indian seafood sector is only and only depending on exports, which is no doubt very valuable for the country, earning foreign exchange. But then it becomes very dicey. And now we have been only talking about it for last 10, 15 years. We need to develop domestic market. We need to develop domestic market. So, you know, there's a saying, one man's food is another man's poison. Now, COVID has caused havoc in our lives in many ways. But then this is one positive aspect of it, that it has also, help to promote domestic marketing of seafood. because people are sitting at home, work from home, so they find it very easy to order different types of seafood, which you can never imagine, getting at your doorstep. It's very easily, just at the click of the mouse, they can order, and within 1 or 2 hours, it will be delivered at your doorstep. So without taking much time, over to Mr. Rajesh.
Thank you, Sandeep, for your kind words on me as on Lishis. And I think you already covered whatever I wanted to talk and the importance
Oh my
of.
God. Sorry.
Thanks for that. So it's very helpful. It's very helpful in that way because the alignment is already happened. And as you rightly said, in all the three categories that we handle, like our poultry and red meat, which is lamb and goat, and then fish and seafood, the poultry only remains as an organized, and rest is the meat ecosystem is very much unorganized, and seafood is obviously organized for export, not for domestic. So the technology, innovation, packaging, all these are very much important to sustain in this ecosystem or to drag attention to the consumer even in India. So before coming into what we do and what we already innovated and what we are going to do, I would like to point out one or two facts in front of us, which is uh, the world per capita consumption of seafood, what it is. It is around 19.2. And where India stands. India stands is at 2.89. So the gap between the 9.2 and 2.89 is not so small. But I think in the previous sessions, multiple uh, people might have highlighted that India is the India world's largest, second largest producer of fish and seafood. So even if we are the second largest producer, our per capita consumption is at very, very low compared to that of what the world stands for. And the other thing that we need to consider in today's world is the protein requirement. India is known for its protein malnutrition, and not only for the seafood, for many things we are number one or number two in the world. Even in the number of livestock that we have, we are second most position. But is this livestock of this much number is giving us enough quality meat? I would say no. It is almost equivalent to our population of 138 crore, but only one gold medal in the Olympics. So this is all applicable to even for our livestock. The quality of livestock is not so good for at least for the meat quality. So what all this indicates? Now the sustainability is no more a buzzword. It is in every sessions or every conference. The people are talking about sustainability. So is it, what does it mean? So we know that there are 17 SDGs, sustainability development goals, but primarily people used to talk about the climate change or the carbon footprint. But is it the only two? No. The hunger or the food security is also equally important. And when it comes to Indian perspectives, I would say we need to address both in equal manner, because our protein requirement is very far, very, very high compared to the worst, wherein the WHO recommends 30, and where we are lying is around 5 to 6. And the protein that contribution from the seafood across the globe is around 6.7, but in India it is 2.2. So while we're talking about the sustainability and many other aspects of environment, social and governance, we will also should talk about having a different yardstick when it comes to an Indian scenario. So all of our efforts should be in line with that. How to improve our hunger index, how to ensure our food security, and how to enable this ecosystem, the fish and seafood ecosystem, to meet our protein requirement. So this is the context that I would like to bring in at the first place. And then let me talk about the innovations or the technological adoption that we did in our own e-commerce platform. As Sandeepji already mentioned, this COVID phase gave us a great boost in our sales, and in a span of 6 years, we have turned into 100 crore per month turnover around. And that is in the first lockdown and second lockdown, we found a very huge demand from Indian consumer for safe food. It is not only for the seafood or the meat, but people are more worried about their health, and they are ready to pay a little bit extra, or in consumer sense, it's maybe a premium for if you are able to serve them in a most hygienic manner. So when it comes to fish and seafood, as we all knows, there are two critical things that will decide the food safety or the food quality. One is the time, and second is the temperature. So how fast we can get the post harvest, the material from the coast or from the farm to the consumer's plate. That is our capability. We need to build not only the entrepreneurs or the industry, but as a nation, I think India need to focus on innovations in front of cold chain management. So the general was talking about IoT. So this is IoT is one of the things that we adopted in tracking of our goods that moves maybe from Cochin to Delhi NCR. So all our food chain is enabled with IoT-based temperature monitoring devices. So let me tell you, we are handling only chilled and fresh. We are not doing anything in frozen. So it is more crucial for us. We need to maintain the 0 to 4 degree temperature throughout the food chain. And in Indian climatic conditions, it is not so easy to do the thing. So the packaging technology that we have developed, even for getting the materials from the coast to our processing units, and from the processing units, it is moved into a different packaging, which is either a vacuum packing or a modified atmospheric packaging. So this is the second level of technology that we have adopted for the processed fish and seafood. We do have two models of packaging, which is vacuum or the MAP. And with that, we are able to maintain the minimum shelf life that is required under the regulation of FSSAI for a chilled category. This is the two things. So what is going forward? So IoT-based temperature monitoring, the vacuum packing, the modified atmospheric packaging, all these are ensuring our product intact for the freshness and the quality and the safety. But what is next? The next is we need to have the traceability in place. And it is not about having the traceability in place. And the Sandeepji's organization like Grovel or all now who is having that complete ecosystem under their control from the hatchery to feed to farm. So we are able to have those kind of vendor base wherein we can get a complete traceability. But how this will get communicated to the consumer, how to get it, how a consumer can convince on the traceability part. So that is the blockchain. I think the next level of innovation or the technology that industry like us in e-commerce need to adopt a QR code based scanning, which will enable each and every consumer to get to know from where their product originated and when it started its journey from the farm, from the harvesting time, and what all are the quality parameters at this different uh, chain of the food chain. So the blockchain is the next thing that we are developing to talk about the traceability part of the product. So that is again will give the further faith and trust in the consumer mind. But it is not the end. I think we need to have further innovations how to communicate the freshness without even telling about anything. The consumer should feel now the sensorial attributes of a smell, texture, or some other parameters. Everyone are able to do. But what is the scientific way to tell us? So we know now that we do have TTIs, time temperature indicator, but it doesn't talk about the freshness per se. It will talk about whether the temperature is abused or not. If your product is spoiled, but even if you maintain the temperature, it will not, the sensors will not tell anything about that. So how we can tell about that? Is there anything that can sense the chemicals that is coming out of the meat or the fish or the seafood, and whether we can communicate that? So these are the further level of technology industry institutions should engage each other and develop for the betterment of the consumer community. So there will be the demand, the going back. We can pass this advantage that we are getting through this proper consumer communication and convenience, etc., to the farmer and fisherman. And finally, doubling the income of farmers and fishermen is also one of our agenda. So that we can fulfill if we are able to adopt some more technology and innovations in this field, and for which I would request the CIA and other platforms intervention with government bodies, ICAR institutions, and industry to come up with innovative ideas and developments. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mr. Rajesh, for the wonderful presentation. And now we have Dr. Mohan Chadak, Dr. C.V. Mohan, as we know him. So he's there with us. Dr. Mohan is the principal scientist, sustainable aquaculture at World Fish, Penang, Malaysia. He's a very senior aquaculture professional, and like I have the good fortune of knowing him for last more than 30 years. And he was a professor with the Fisheries College, Bangalore, before joining World Fish. And before that, he was with NACA, Bangkok, Thailand, for many years. So over to Dr. C.V. Mohan, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sandeep and all colleagues. Greetings from World Fish Penang, and a big thank you to CIA and the Ministry and the Department of Fisheries for giving me the opportunity to set the context for this discussion. I should have spoken in the beginning to set the context, but unfortunately, I was in a different platform, CIA Hive platform rather than the WebEx platform. And when Sandeep was calling out my name, shouting, but unfortunately he could not hear. So anyway, so now that I'm online, I would just would like to spend some time, maybe shut the video and share the presentation, and mainly try to bring in front of you a couple of the innovations that are available and what really needs to be done for uptake of this, for adoption of this, for scaling of this, so that we can really get the production and productivity and all other outcome which we are interested in. So please let me know if you can see the presentation. Sandeep, can you see the presentation?
Yeah, very much, very much.
I'll just make it full screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's visible, right? Visible. Hello, is it visible, right? Hello, can you see the presentation?
Sir, it was visible earlier. Now it's not visible.
Oh, yeah.
Initially, we could see the first slide.
Is it visible now?
Not yet, not yet, not yet.
Hello?
Before you went into presentation mode, it was visible, sir. Now we cannot see.
Video could share.
Is it visible now?
Not yet, not yet.
We can see it now.
Now we can see
Now
it.
it's visible.
Yes.
Okay, so again, sorry for the inconvenience and the disruptions. Again, thanks to the technology. What I'll do is I'll very briefly highlight what are the technologies and innovations that are available with us, and what needs to be done from both public and private sector investment and capacity building perspectives to really make the desired outcomes and outputs what we would like to see. The purpose of this session was largely to deliberate on this and then say, what are the technologies? How can we really facilitate and enhance their adoption and scaling? How can we build capacity for the stakeholders along the aquatic food value chain? And what are our various roles? And what investments are required both from public and private? And this was the basis, supposed to be the basis for the entire panel discussion. First, I think it's better to talk in terms of aquatic foods. And as for World Fish, whatever is farmed and whatever is harvested from water, we will try to define it under the broad definition of aquatic foods, because it's so unique, so diverse, and each one of that has its own intrinsic values. So unless we realize that, we will be failing in our duty to harness the benefits of aquatic foods for the betterment of humankind and also for the betterment of our planet. If you look at the aquatic food systems, it's very complex, just like any other food system. It refers to all the elements like the people, the environment, the process, all the activities which we get involved in, and finally the outcomes. So it's a very complex web of elements, activities, and outcomes. And ultimately, what we are interested in is the outcomes, be it social, be it economic, be it food security, be it nutrition, be it health. And what unfortunately happens in many of the developing countries and low and medium income countries is that aquatic foods takes the last seat. Normally, crop science and the livestock science is given highest priority. But many people do not realize that aquatic foods are very, very essential for nourishing nations and for transforming food systems. I think this slogan we need to really strongly, drive home. And even ICR is now very strongly pushing this, the role of aquatic foods for the health of human beings, also for transforming the food systems. Why this is very important is the present food system, the way we produce food, the way we distribute food, the way we consume food is actually threatening the overall sustainability, is also harming our human health, harming the animal health also. So there is an urgent need to really transform the food systems. And people are looking at food systems, including aquatics, from a One Health perspective. And COVID has very clearly demonstrated why One Health perspective is very, very important if we have to build resilience and sustainability, where we are focused on the health of us, the human beings, health of the organisms which we farm or the crops which we grow, and the health of the environment. Unless we see the food system from a One Health lens, we cannot do justice in the long run. So some of the key questions for our panel discussions and for others is what technologies are out there so that they can help to transform the food systems to do better for humans. That's the safe and healthy food. The previous speaker very nicely told about the importance of safe and healthy food being delivered to the doorsteps using modern tools and technologies. Similarly, animals, healthy animals, no disease, healthy environment within the overall planetary boundaries. And at the same time, ensure enhancement of production and productivity. Our primary aim should not be to only enhance production and productivity at the cost of other things. Our primary aim should be to enhance it within the planetary boundaries. That's very, very important. And this is where all value chain actors have a very important role in promoting those technologies. So if you look at production and productivity outcomes, many times we neglect small things and taken for granted. Simple, better management practices have a huge potential for improving productivity and production of systems. There are millions of these available, but very limited effort done by many people, including public and private sector, to support their uptake, adoption, and scaling. So if you are able to just promote their uptake, adoption, and scaling, this itself can contribute to 5 to 10% increase in the overall productivity of the system. Same is with respect to, say, for example, farm level biosecurity. Many people talk of biosecurity, but you go to many farms, you hardly see any biosecurity. But majority of the simple farm level biosecurity tools, technologies, and processes are already there, but it's not being taken up and it's not being usually adopted. So if it's adopted, it can reduce the disease-related loss significantly, which indirectly contributes to increased productivity. Similarly, big data and epidemiology. We just heard from Lucius about the use of data. Again, now India is one of the front runners in the IT and the digital and the data science. So even gathering the farm practice data on a regular basis and using AI tools to analyze them and providing feedback to the farmers on a real time on risk factors, on favorable factors, on predictions, this has huge potential. This is where epidemiology and big data and huge scope for developing people, for developing apps and contextualized apps and working with farmers, and how the technologies can be used to support and manage risks and contribute to increased productivity and production. Same is for genetics, for example. We all know about the huge benefits of improved genetic strains like GIFT, which Worldfish is proud of, Jayanti Roe, which ICR CIFA is proud of, freshwater prawn, again ICR CIFA. Okay, there are improved strains, but that's of absolutely no use. What is required is there a robust dissemination network? How can the value of improved genetics be really harnessed by all farmers? So this is the key thing. So what is stopping us from making available the improved strains across the country for all interested farmers? And again, the new technologies like developing disease resilient traits, developing stress tolerant traits, developing better feed utilization traits in fish. This is some of the areas which are happening. Same using innovative concepts. For now, there is a concept which people are trying to experiment, which is called feed not your fish alone, but feed the pond. This is the concept of fertilizing the water, using the ecosystem of the pond to the maximum benefit by manipulating the species combinations and utilizing the concept of polyculture technology, which India and Bangladesh have done very well. And now this nutritious pond concept for environmental footprint, for nutrient management is becoming very, very popular. Again, local ingredients, novel feeds, feed management, the question of circular economy, reducing fish meal, using agriculture byproducts, and supporting simple local ingredient based local feed manufacturing using what we call feed calculators and feed supporting apps. But many of these are being now used in some of the countries where locally people can achieve some of these things and get better outcomes. Again, improve diagnostics. We talk a lot of diagnostics.
Sorry to disturb you, sir. We are running out of time. Kindly see if you can
No
find
problem.
up one or 1.5 minutes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So improved diagnostics is one more area. Then improved surveillance. This can also contribute to very high productivity gains. Novel vaccines. I'm sure many of you would have heard of Norway, and this is where autogenous vaccines produced out of a local bacterial or pathogens, how they can be used. There's a lot of technologies available around this. There are technologies to support certification. This came up earlier. Traceability system, process certification, product certification, reducing AMR, which came up in today morning's session where Secretary Sir was mentioning about AMR. Many other technologies. Now SPF and SPR seed has become the proven technology in shrimp. Why not the same for carp culture, tilapia culture, and catfish culture, biofloc and REs? Even the microbiomes, how the microbial population of the pond water and the system, similarly environmental outcomes. Now there are tools where you can use to measure the performance and footprint of farming systems and improve those using those analytical tools. We can even reorient the production systems to do well for nutrition, do well for environment, do well for the productivity. There are tools to improve the climate resilience of farming systems. A lot of work is going on, but none of these are being sort of adopted. Similarly, understanding diseases in both in culture and in wild, and what are the interactions, how they can affect the farming. And finally, the nutrition outcomes. This is what is very, very important. Very many of us are forgetting the value of fish in nutrition outcomes. Fish is a global superfood, so it's our duty to really promote it. I'm very happy about the previous speaker talking about delivering the and here this is one very important thing: technologies for promoting better utilization of fish from marine capture. A lot of marine capture fish has huge nutrition potential, but unfortunately they are finding their finding their use somewhere else. But they can be turned into very nice human products. Similarly, technologies to reduce fish waste and loss. 30% of the fish we produce is lost, but if there are good technologies, you want to reduce 5%, that will be sufficient to support a significant percent of the population. And the last, simple technologies like a fish powder, high quality, hygienic, can be a very nice complementary food and a family food. But again, what technology we need when we have such high digital technologies? Similarly, we can have very simple production technologies which can produce certified FASSI certified powders, which can be used in all fish eating families to support the nutrition requirements of the target population. Many other technologies are available. And anyway, I'll not go much into world fish. So world fish, again, our interest is mainly to support using aquatic food systems for the betterment of human health and also for the betterment of the environment health. And we work in more than 20 countries. These are the main countries where we work in Asia and Africa. And from January 22, all the CG centers are coming together as one CGIR. Again, an interesting trend where instead of dividing an institution into hundreds of sub-institutions, all CGR institutions like rice, fish, water, maize, wheat, everyone is coming together as one CGIR in the interest of food systems and food system transformation. Again, sorry for taking more time, and big thank you from my side. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mohan sir, for the very enlightening presentation. So now we will move to the next speaker. That is Mr. Neelkant Mishra. He is the CEO and founder, Center for Aquatic Livelihood, Jala Jivika. So he'll be speaking on developing value chain and institutional norms on aquatic livelihood systems using advanced technologies. So Mr. Nilkant is based out of Pune, and he has worked in various like organizations before joining this, before starting this Jala Jivika, which he is the CEO and founder. And he has a master in public policy and management from University of York. So over to Mr. Nilkant.
Thank you, Sandeep, for introducing Department of Fish, providing us opportunity to the way we conduct our program as a social enterprise in parts of India. So, considering the time constraints, I will focus more on the kind of how we are using the, as Dr. Mohan has also shared, like there are various technology, there are various options, and one shoe doesn't fit all. So maybe the farmers of Vidarbha region in Maharashtra may need something different support, whereas the farmers of Ratnagiri in coastal may need the different support. So the, one kind of solutions which is normally becomes the part of any large government program. So how those clusterization of solution is needed for developing the value chain and developing the rural entrepreneurship, rural livelihood missions. So as we all know, like India, we have like more than 7 million hectare of water body, but hardly 50% is used for this aquatic food production system. There are various regions and hardly whatever our experience is, the limitation of advisory process is one of the real challenges. Look at the regions of Bihar and the UP part. Both are into the flood economy, but Bihar generates more than 60% of India's makhana production, and in UP still people don't know how to cultivate the makhana. Whereas the geography, the soil, the culture, practices, everything is same. So, so that's the limitation of the advisory process, and then the of course the input thing. There are even in the last presentation it was shown there are so many way of introducing the locally produced feed input or various other way of doing the culture thing. But yes, that's the it's not become popular, and the market linkages. In the earlier presentation, Rajesh has also shared how market linkages Lysias is driving. But we are such a huge country to link each and every produce to the market at the consumer end, at the farmer's end. We may need, I think, 20 more Lysias. Then only this entire local marketing channels can be settled out. The farmers of Shillong and Meghalaya, they buy rohu katla kind of fishes in local market in 400 450 rupees a kg, and in Bihar like even 150 rupees is too much for the consumer. So that's the kind of opportunity and challenges we have across this freshwater segment. And these challenges, they're a multifaceted solution, multifaceted challenge. It all, it cannot be tackled by a government program or a large scale program like PMSY. It can be only be decentralized using so many aqua entrepreneurs. Like we have so many fishery university institutions, all those graduate students, they can become the entrepreneurs to solve and scale the solutions for generating the prosperity in the rural parts of India. The best thing is agri, animal husbandry, and fisheries. Whatever is the most of the production center, it's all exist in the rural area. So whatever value is created, the mostly the prosperity is it is transferred to boost the rural economy.
Oh, I think signal problem. Mr. Nilkant, can you hear us? I think we have lost you. Maybe you can switch off the video and just keep the audio on. Mr. Nilkant, can you hear us?
I think there is a bad network at his end. Can we move ahead and maybe he can, we can
Yeah,
have him later? Yeah.
yeah, fine. Let us do that. So we have the last but not the least presentation from a very distinguished person from Singapore, Dr. Farshad Shishachain. He is the CEO and founder, Blue Aqua International Group, Singapore. Yes.
Hi, Sandeep.
So, hi, welcome, Dr. Farshad.
Thank
So, Dr. Farshad will be speaking on technology in farming, and I think he's the right person because he is one of the pioneers in the field of introducing technology in aqua farming in a very big way and a very grand way. So let us hear. And let me briefly introduce Dr. Farshad. So he's done PhD in terrestrial and aquatic ecology from Malaysia and shrimp pond ecology. And he has led the company since its inception in 2009. And they are pioneering in aquaculture farm care business. And they have introduced number of innovative products. Yeah, please over to Dr. Farshad.
Thank you, Sandeep. Actually, I want to share the screen, but the problem is that since I installed this program just now, I need to quit and come in again. Can I have like 1 minute only? Is it okay?
Okay. Please do
Thank
that.
you. Sorry, sir.
No problem.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
No problem. So, Mr. Nilkant, we can have at the end perhaps. So I think we'll be left with something like 15 minutes for question and answers. Are there any questions, by the way? So far, no questions.
Hello.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. There was power off was there. So
Mr. Nilkant,
yeah,
it's okay. Like we just started, about to start with Dr. Farshad.
sure,
Maybe
No
sure.
worry.
once he
I
finishes,
can
once
wait.
again we'll come back to you.
Yes. No, Prasad,
Oh, you, Sandeep, you want me
Yeah.
to wait
yeah,
until Dr. Zagab finish, right?
Okay, that is also fine. Yeah. Shall we do that?
Yeah, I think let him to finish first is okay.
Okay, Mr. Nilkant. Sorry. Please go
yeah, I'm
ahead.
so sorry. There was power cut and
No problem.
so I will just take a 2 minute of time. Recently,
No
with
problem.
this freshwater segment, we started using this IoT kind of technology, which we are doing with women farmers in Vidarbha region of Maharashtra. We are using this IoT. They are getting the pond-wise advisory services, and the social process here we have integrated all the women extension agents. They were trained in how to use the IoT, how to tell the advisory part to the farmers, and they are communicating. So in a way, it is reducing the farmers, feed and all those things. They are getting the right quantity of feed what is required, and they are also learning the scientific manner of the water quality. But at the same time, these women extension people, they are getting the social status as a aquaculturist. So that's the social benefit in this process. And we also use the earlier we all know like this cage fishery is such a huge impact in raising the livelihood opportunity using the reservoirs. It's also very resource intensive. So we went for this low cost solar aerated pond based cages, mini cages, which even in the pond, the farmers can use it, and even in the water bodies which are full of water hyacinth or the aquatic plants, where the farmers can do the fishery related activity. And the benefit what we are trying to realize it here, they are also learning the science of the managing the feed, doing the using this pond as an investment unit, and high valued local fishes like pavda, tengra, so many fishes which is normally not part of the farming practices. They are using it and learning how to grow the high valued fishes for their local market consumptions. And the self-breeding variety like common carp, amur carp, they all using and learning how to grow their own seeds. So it's a way where different functions a farmer can use. They can use this sorted, graded live fishes for the local market sale. They can use it to increase the backyard fishery production system. And it's all solar. We have introduced and trying to boost the freshwater economy in the part of Maharashtra, Bihar, and other part of Eastern India. So as a social process, what we do, we work with the women's group or the cooperative. It's an entire incubation process, like we have all seen in any kind of incubation agency. It's not only the technology dissemination, but the way the society, the entire group collective is generated. And as a part of journey, they start learning the science of harvesting, the science of fishery, as well as they learn the business model development, which is supported by government program. So I will not take much time because already the other participants are there. And thank you, Sandeep, for providing the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Nilkant. So for the nice presentation and the wonderful work you're doing, very interesting. So yeah, over to Dr. Farshad.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thanks a lot. I mean, thank you for the organizer to invite and give the opportunity. I really didn't prepare the presentation because it was the last minute. So I have just few slides just to share certain important things in terms of the technology. I try to be on time for 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah, I'm from Blue Aqua International. So this is very quick brief about the company. So this is what we have done so far. Okay, go back to the topic. I believe that we all know that we are living on a very blue planet, that it has 71% covered by the water. But unfortunately, what we do and what we have, mostly the consumption of the protein we have, it comes from the land-based animal. So basically, almost 70% that we have, it contribute very little to the food that we have. And then since Stone Age, human try to really take an advantage of the water body and be a fisherman or be a farmer. And also you can see that today we do see a lot of flooding, a lot of issues, and all come because of the global warming. And one of the major reasons for global warming, of course, is the industry and agriculture. So when we look at agriculture, of course, production of the beef and land-based animal is always contribute a lot to the CO2 emission. Then these are all like a piece of the puzzle that if we connect them together, then we will understand that what we have to do as a human being. So we can see the world population also keep on increasing. It's definitely, we are reaching to over 9 billion very, very soon. And what do we have here? I mean, I always say, we can talk about traditional farming. I'm a traditional farmer. I'm a farmer for 30 years. But when I look, I see what we have been doing in the past, 40, 50 years. It's not going to work in the future because there are restrictions and there are the bottleneck that come into the industry that it should be answered with the technology. And one of the things that we always recommend is the intensification. But the intensification, it doesn't mean that you just go and dump animal in the water and expect that they grow. So this comes with a lot of different approach. A simple word, when you define intensification, means you increase the carrying capacity of your production. But always when we want to increase the carrying capacity, there are always bottleneck and the resistance that I always call it as a environmental resistance, technological resistance. There are many resistance, but we always have a potential, and we always have the curve can really goes up to the certain level. So the industry that we are in has to look at to increasing that curve, how much can go to reach to the optimum capacity and carrying capacity we have in our production. You can do different way, you know. These are some of pictures from my own farm. You can have raceway, you can have tall tank, you can go for the green culture, you can go for the clean water. It is not really matter. We just announced last week starting a very interesting project in Singapore. So we're gonna produce, you know, the trout fish in Singapore in a very small footprint. But the idea is that the whole these things you do, either you do green water that I do for my shrimp, or you do clean water that we do for the trout. The point is you need to have, you know, a sufficient tools and sufficient resources to increase the productivity for the level that you will be, you know, able to feed the human. So there are different systems. I mean, eventually, the whole this discussion that we have always around the aquaculture and food production, the bottom line goes back to the production. We can talk a lot of things. We can talk about, you know, every single point of this industry, but at the end of the day, the only things that make it different is the productivity. So the productivity is something that everybody looking at it, and the productivity is the factor of the technology and understanding the environment and what you are working with. And always there are technology around the world that they looks complicated or they look so simple. It doesn't matter either way. They are all technology. But what you want out of that is the production, using the correct resources. You don't want to spend, I don't know, 100 hectares of land to produce 100 tons of shrimp, which maybe you can produce that 100 tons of shrimp in a 1 hectare land with a much more less resources, less contribution to the global warming and all those things. And sometimes we don't really talk that more equipment, more screen, more, I don't know, tools. It means better technology. I have here, like there is a tool system that I work myself with them. I have a patented system that is a more on the green system, and there is a clear water system. So for our shrimp production, I use my green system. For the trout production, we are going to use our, you know, clean system. But both of them have their own pro and cons, and both of them is suitable for certain, you know, species and, you know, the different agenda. But eventually, at the end of the day, even if we look at like a very old, you know, I have many farmers around the world, they work with us. We give them product, we give them advice. And this is what you see in maybe 90% of the world. The question mark is here. Is this kind of technology is going to live there for how long? How long you can really continue with traditional technology? You know, I always simply compare the system of the salmon farmer in the, you know, Scandinavian or Canadian compared to our shrimp farmer in India, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand. And what I see, they are much more advanced than us in everything. Is that the reason that they can be more profitable, or there is a technology involved, or any other things? These are all the question marks that we have to look. But they're always about like a circular economy of aquaculture. You really, you know, move from a green to the clean system. I have like even you know, very detailed. We can talk a lot of detailed things. I think Sandeep, no, we discuss these things a lot. Sometimes you talk about environmental modulation. So these are all tools that work in the common farming, and, you know, in a system that you have too much of, you know, involvement of the nature inside. And that is what the farmers and everybody should learn. And we will move by getting, you know, like utilizing the resources that we have, such as bacteria, phytoplankton, I don't know, all the nutrient in the water. But one of the key things that just now one of the other speakers also mentioned, we have to move more on the data-driven aquaculture management. Means utilizing of the data and looking at the data is one of the very important things. Collecting data in terms of water quality, culture, or the consumer market, selling to whoever you are selling. So we work you know, in my company, we are working on few projects. For example, we are working on using the AI to run the farm. In what level you want to do that, it really goes back to many other questions that you should be able to ask yourself and answer. Or we are working on like blockchain technology to do the traceability. I just hear one of the speakers say they are doing that in India. It's fantastic because today consumer every day looking at understanding what they are eating. It's not just like only about the food. They want to know where this food come from. What is the ingredient? Have you considered animal welfare? Did you use the sustainable source of the nutrient and protein? So when we look, like we are working with a company like a VChain. They are very, very good company in terms of the supplying the blockchain technology. But the whole idea is not who you are working, what are you doing. Is the whole thing is that you can make it happen. And today, like when you talk about traceability is more like become documentation rather than the real traceability. Because if you really want to do real traceability, you must have camera in every farm. You have to have auditing every second. So these are the things that we slowly, I think the industry moving towards it. And I believe, our industry, it's moving to the right direction. COVID was maybe a push and a boost to help to improve and increase urban farming. Urban farming means you produce where is your customer. And that is going to be the future of our industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Farshad, for the wonderful presentation. So that has really given us some insight into the latest technologies you are deploying for aquaculture in Singapore. So with this, we come to an end to our presentation by our eminent panelists. So we are open for question and answers. We're open for questions. I think there are no questions so far. Maybe the organizers have received any questions. So there is none. So I think we can then wind up the session. Or if anybody wants to discuss anything amongst the panelists, so kindly feel free. Well, then thanks a lot to all the eminent panelists for sparing your valuable time and giving very nice presentations. And I once again thank Confederation of Indian Industries for organizing this wonderful session. And we look forward to more such programs in the future. So thanks a lot. Dr. Mohan, you would like to say something?
No. Thank you. Nothing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.